Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com for Saturday, September 3rd. Final weekend at Saratoga and opening weekend at Kentucky Downs, which is where we are going to focus. Tom Leach, along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Mutuals and Simulcasting, and we are going to talk about the late pick 4 at Kentucky Downs. And this is always a fun meet, just a few racing days, but Jim, they get big fields, big purses, and I think because of those, people have just a limited time to go after this big money. It's almost like Breeders' Cup time in that you can count on about everybody being live, it seems like.
Yeah, it's almost, it's amazing. You're running maiden special weights for $130,000. And, when I handicap these races, you go through here and there are horses coming from every track. It's kind of like Keeneland. I mean, the very first race we're going to handicap, there's a horse coming from Del Mar, Indiana, Mountaineer, Arlington Park, Churchill Downs, Monmouth, 6 different racetracks. So it's really a handicapping puzzle. But if you remember last year, you can get some great prices down there. Those horses take to that undulating track with the big money, and they're obviously, some of these horses have pointed for these races, even shipping them from California for this big money.
Let's take a look at the 7th race to start the late pick 4, and it's the ladies' turf for 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares going a mile. Obviously, these are all on the grass, and it's that undulating course. They go slightly uphill on the finish. So fitness is usually something that is a definite must. Who did you land on in the ladies' turf?
Yeah, landed on Cash Control, the 2-horse for Brad Cox. Almost won at Indiana last out. Won the Mint Julep at Churchill in June, and he's just really consistent mare. And Bridge Mahan rides her back. He's been riding the horse forever, and I really like Brad Cox. He's obviously pointed for this race. What got me on Cash Control, though, when I looked at all the horses in the race, was that she was 4 lengths behind Tepin on Derby Day in this turf mile at Churchill. There's no Tepin in here. Tepin would be 1-9, and if she can run within 4.25 lengths to Tepin at a mile at Churchill Downs, I like her a lot in this spot. Not a single, though, when we start talking about the pick 4. I like She's Not Here, shipping from Del Mar, and she won the Yellow Ribbon 2 years in a row out there for Vicky Oliver. So Vicky obviously was pointing for this race. She's been off for a while. She only ran at Del Mar after a 2-month layoff, but she hadn't run at Kentucky Downs. She is 5 for 15 lifetime on turf, so I think she's got to be there. The horse on the outside, the 9-horse, Ms. Money, not in really good form right now, but if I like Cash Control, I got to like her because she ran right with Cash Control at Fairgrounds last winter. And the 4th horse I would use in here is Susie B, the 4 for Ron Giroux. Seems to be a cut below the best here coming out of Mountaineer race, but Giroux is so good there that you really shouldn't toss anything that might be live. So my top pick is Cash Control there. I would play trifectas with She's Not Here, the 1, Ms. May, the 9, and Susie B, the 4, and I'd use probably all 4 of them in the pick 4.
I'll probably kick myself for not taking Cash Control because that's what I started to go to. And then I changed to Secret Someone because I think the price is going to be a lot better. Turning back from a couple of mile and 3/16 races, I mentioned the fitness angle earlier, and I think that's a plus for Secret Someone. And I think Stidham's a guy who hadn't had a big summer. He might be loading up for this meet with the big pots. So give me Secret Someone, and then the ones that pretty much you mentioned I'm using with her in exactas. She's Not Here, Cash Control, and Susie B. So 8 with 1, 2, 4, and then turn them the other way. And then we'll get to the pick 4 when we wrap this thing up. The 8th race is the Kentucky Downs Juvenile. 2-year-olds going 7 furlongs. And I went to Ancient Warfare. Mark Cassie's horses usually run well at this meet and usually improve on their second start. And this horse won its debut. So if it improves, should really be good. And then Lescano's in to ride this opening weekend, or this opening day anyway. And I think that's a good angle for this horse. Don't think he's a single. Zunino, the 2, liked a little bit. Parlor, the 6, I thought 6 ran really well at Ellis. The 8, Hot Dad. And then, if your budget permits, 12 All Right, 7 Preemptive Strike are worth looking at as well. But Ancient Warfare is the winner for me. How about you?
Well, we agree on the winner. we have no agreement on the ones below it. So that means the race. I mean, none of them. Now, you mentioned 5 horses, and I've only got 2 below Ancient Warfare, and neither one of them you mentioned. So to me, the race is open except for Ancient Warfare. And I went back and watched that race at Saratoga, and that was a compact field, and he just burst up the rail and won going away. It looks like 7 furlongs won't be any trouble for him because he was flying at 5.5, and I was very impressed with that race. Nobody's come back to win out of that I'm aware of, but there was a horse named Gemologister. I can't even pronounce that. Gemologister, who ran back in a stakes race last week and ran well. So Ancient Warfare to me is the single in the Big Four because I liked him a lot more than anybody else in here. Now you're always taking a shot singling a juvenile 2-year-old because they're going to improve a lot, and these others could jump up. The 2 horses I like below him are the Hansen horse, Hand Sense, the 3 horse from Michael Maker and Giroux, ran once at Prairie Meadows on the dirt, so I have no idea how to balance that out to the turf at Kentucky Downs, but worked really well in a 48 and 4 furlongs first of 28 work on August 27th at Churchill. So Mike Maker should have him ready. And Prado's Way, the 10, again, a horse coming from Lone Star in Alberta and won by 5.5 and 4 3/4. So you have no idea dirt to turf, minor track to what Kentucky Downs is, at least in September, is a major track. So those 2 are the ones I like below, but I like Ancient Warfare as a single, the 5 horse in the 8th race.
9th race, Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint. They'll sprint 6.5 furlongs, 3-year-olds and up, and you've got horse like Undrafted that went to Europe and won, has been a nice winner here at Keeneland. In fact, was back in the spring. Regally Ready's a former Breeders' Cup winner. 2 Windy to Haul Rocks coming in from the West Coast for Phil D'Amato. Who'd you land on?
Those 3 plus 1 more. Actually, a couple more. I like Undrafted, the 2. Ran well last year in the More Than Ready at Kentucky Downs. Lost to Tourist, which is nothing wrong with losing to Tourist. He won the Grade 2 Shakertown at Keeneland. He's proven at 6.5 at a couple of different tracks. So I like Undrafted here on the top. Almasty, the 4 for Brad Cox. Might not have liked the yielding turf last time out at Monmouth, and capable of triple-digit buyers on his best day. So he runs 100 here. He's right there, obviously. 2 Windy to Haul Rocks is a question mark for me. Coming from, looks like he's only run in California, and D'Amato ships him here for the big money in a $350,000 race. Don't know that he's going to light Kentucky Downs up and down after running on a fairly hard Del Mar turf surface. Regally Ready, Giroux and Asmussen 3 for 5 at the distance. Won 2 easily at Oaklawn this winter, but has been off since March, so I'm not sure that he's going to be at the top of his game. Undrafted is my top pick. I would use the 4, 7, and 8 below him in trifectas.
I ended up going to 2 Windy to Haul Rocks. I like the turn back from a mile, and horse is really working great, and is a sharp trainer. So I think you make a good point about will he handle Kentucky Downs. That's why I didn't have a real strong opinion and wasn't able to really trim this race down much. So I liked Undrafted, Commute, the 3 for Cassie, Regally Ready, and Wilbo. Only a couple of starts on the turf, but Chris Hartman, this horse could be a little dangerous. So if you can afford a 5-horse box, that wouldn't be a bad way to go in that race. 7, 2, 3, 8, 11 for me. But I'm going to go 2 Windy to Haul Rocks for the win pick. 10th race, the Kentucky Downs Juvenile Fillies. 2-year-old fillies going that 7 furlong distance. When Lady Hansen ran last time, I happened to be watching the races that day at Ellis, and I went back and looked at her first race, and she had broken horribly and still ran very well. So I ended up playing her in that race, and she broke as bad or worse again, and yet still won. Now, the thing that made me use her here is that she's had a really good gate work since that time, so I'm hoping they've got the gate issue figured out. If they do, then I'd almost consider singling her, but since she was so bad coming out of the gate in both starts, I also want to use Lull, the 6, really impressive in the win at Belmont in July, and Clement goes to a really good turf rider, local guy, Brian Hernandez. So I would play the race really, those 2. I'm kind of split between those 2 for the win pick. What I'd play the race is those 2 on top. So 3-6 over in an exacta, 3-6 over, 3-6, and then 2-5-9. Southern Sis, Safe With Me, and Royal Asher. How about you?
This is a spread race for me. There's so many uncertainties here about these fillies. I agree with you on Lady Hanson. I mean, because she came walking out and won, not easily, but pretty impressive for on a 5.5 furlong race. You don't usually win, and when you come out that badly. So I would use her, but I'd also use about 5 others in here in my pick 4. Lull is my top choice, the 6 for Christophe Clement. Assuming, she was heavily favored in that race at Saratoga, the stakes race where she clipped heels and fell. So I'm assuming she came out of that okay. Based on her first race at Belmont, she was very impressive, breaking her maiden with a 71 buyer. So Lull would be my top choice. ZYXYZ, Joe Sharp is high on this horse, the one filly, but it's a big step up in class and gets the 1 hole. So that's a negative, but she ran really well at Indiana last time out. I would use Lady Henson, the 3. I would use Safe With Me, the 5, for Grand Motion. I would use Caroline Test, the 7, for Ben Colebrook and Giroux, pretty consistent and almost one of the Ellis Park Juvenile fillies. And Forest Circle, the 10, is first turf after 2 synthetics, and usually synthetic transfers well at turf. So occasionally you'll get somebody coming from Arlington or Woodbine and runs well at Kentucky Downs. So I would use those 6 horses in my pick 4 that we'll talk about in just a second.
Well, let's shift right to that pick 4. How's your ticket look?
Okay, first leg, I got 1, 2, 3, 9, the horses we talked about. She's Not Here, Cash Control, Susie B, and Ms. Money. I would single the 5, Ancient Warfare, in the second leg. In the third leg, I would use 4 horses, Undrafted, the 2, Almasty, the 4, 2, Windy the Hall Rocks, the 7, and Regally Ready, the 8. And then I would go 6 deep, the horses that we just talked about in the Kentucky Downs Juvenile Fillies, the 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, that'd be ZYXYZ, Lady Henson, Safe With Me, Lull, Caroline Test, and Forest Circle. So my ticket is 4 by single by 4 by 6, which is around $48, I think.
My ticket is a little more expensive for a 50-cent pick 4, $60. 812 in the 7th, then 5268 with 723811 with 6-3. If you want to trim that down, I think Ancient Warfare could be singled. You could take a stand there and you could really trim my ticket down a lot. But I was trying to include a few more in there and hope to catch a price maybe, because I like those 2 at the end of the juvenile fillies. So best of luck to you this weekend as you mix in the horses with the college football. And Jim, we're also going to do a podcast later this weekend for the 3 stakes races on the Labor Day card up at Parks. So folks can find that at KeenelandSelect.com as well on the handicapping page. And Labor Day weekend's always a great weekend for some racing.
Yeah, it is. It's we've got a handicapping contest at Red Mile on the Belmar races. Just $10 entry fee for Friday night, and then Saturday racing with Kentucky Downs and the graded stakes at Saratoga. Closing weekend at Saratoga and Del Mar. It's kind of sad, but it's transition time into Kentucky Downs and football and Churchill Downs and Keeneland coming up 5 weeks from this weekend.
And that sounds really good. That's the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.